In 1927, a massive federal raid put a large quantity of Innsmouth residents into federal internment camps. Part of the town and surrounding Reef were supposedly blown up. There had been stories of strange people in Innsmouth for years, but the tale of one poor visitor pushed it over the edge, and a secret investigation revealed the true terrors of the town. A young man touring New England as a rite of passage was travelling to Arkham, but the cheapest route involved a bus through Innsmouth, and despite warnings, he decided to go. The bus broke down and he had to stay overnight, finding only horror and terror, causing him to flee down a disused railway track. But worse was to come when he discovered his true lineage. All in The Shadow over Innsmouth by H.P. Lovecraft. Link to part 1 above. To help us grow, please like, subscribe, and be sure to click the bell. But just as importantly, comment and share. The algorithm must be fed, and comments are one of its favourite meals. You might want to help guide our explorations of the strange, dark and terrible by joining the Eldritch Order on Discord. You can via our Patreon or YouTube, coming soon. We release 3 episodes a week, 2 live streams that chat guides the story on, and complete versions when a story concludes. In part 4, old Zadock completes his storytelling, telling of dark rites and old ones, and then faces the horrific consequences that come from telling his story. What do you think of Zadock? Whose side is he on? Let me know in the comments. But for now, it's time to enter the Cave of Chronicles. I bent close to catch any articulate words he might utter, and thought I saw a sardonic smile behind the stained, bushy whiskers. Yes, he was really forming words, and I could grasp a fair proportion of them.
Poor Matt. Matt, he always was agin it. Tried to line up the folks on his side and had long talks with the preachers. No use. They run the congregational parson out of town, and the Methodist fella quit. Never did see Resolve Babcock, the Baptist parson, again. Right, Jehovah, I was a mighty little critter, but I heard what I heard and seen what I seen. Dagon and Astoreth, Belial and Beelzebub, golden calf and the idols of Canaan, and the Philistines, Babylonian-ish abominations, mean, tekel, aplazin.
He stood again, and from the look in his watery blue eyes, I feared he was close to a stupor after all. But when I gently shook his shoulder, he turned on me with astonishing alertness and snapped out some more obscure phrases.
Don't believe me, hey? Then just tell me, young fella, why Captain Obed and 20 odd other folks used to roll out to Devil Reef in the dead of night and chant things so loud ye could hear 'em all over town when the wind was right. Tell me that, hey? And tell me why Obed was always dropping heavy things down to the deep water other side of the reef, while the bottom shoots down like a cliff, loathing ye can sound. Tell me what he done with that funny shaped leg thingamajig as what a Kia gave him. Hey boy?
The watery blue eyes were almost savage and maniacal now, and the dirty white beard bristled electrically. Old Zadock probably saw me shrink back because he began to cackle evilly.
Beginning to see, hey? How about the night I took my pie ship glass up to a cupola and seed the reef a bristling thick with shapes that dove off quick as soon as the moon's riz. Obed and the folks was in a doorway, but them shapes dove off the far side into the deep water and never come up. How'd you like to be a little shaver alone up in a cupola, watching shapes that wasn't human shapes? Hey?
The old man was getting hysterical, and I began to shiver with a nameless alarm. He laid a gnarled claw on my shoulder, and it seemed to me that its shaking was not altogether that of mirth.
Suppose one night ye seed something heavy heaved often Obed's story beyond the reef, and then learned the next day a young fella was missing from home. Hey? Did anybody ever see hide or hair of Hiram Gilman again? Did they? And Nick Pierce, and Llewellyn Waite, and Adoram Southwick, and Henry Garrison? Hey? Well, sir, that was the time Obed began to get on his feet again. Folks see 3 daughters are wearing gold-like things as nobody seen on 'em before, and smoke started coming out of the refinery chimney. Other folks was prospering too. Fish began to swarm into the harbour, fit to kill, and heaven knows what size cargoes we began to ship out to Newburyport, Arkham, and Boston. 'Twas then Obed got the old branch railroad put through. Remember, I ain't saying Obed was set on having things just like there was on that South Sea Isle. Didn't think he aimed at first to do no mixing, nor to raise no young'uns to take to the water and turn into fishes with eternal life. He wanted them gold things and was willing to pay heavy, I guess. The others were satisfied for a while. Come in 46 and the town done some looking and thinking for itself. Too many folks missing, too much wild preaching at meetings of a Sunday, too much talk about that reef. I guess I've done a bit by telling Selectman Mary what I see from the cupola. Then there was a party one night as followed Obed's crowd out to the reef, and I heard shots betwixt the dairies. Next day, Obed and 32 others was in jail, with everybody a-wondering just what was afoot, and just what charge again them could be got to halt. God, if everybody looked ahead. A couple of weeks later, when nothing had been thrown into the sea for that long,
Zadock was showing signs of fright and exhaustion, and I let him keep silence for a while, though glancing apprehensively at my watch. The tide had turned and was coming in now, and the sound of the waves seemed to arouse him.
That awful night, I was up in the cupola, hordes of them, swarms of them, all over the reef and swimming up the harbour into the monoxide. God, what happened in the streets of Innsmouth that night? They rattled our door, but Pa wouldn't open. Then he climbed out of the kitchen window with his musket to find Selectman Murray and see what he could do. Minds of the dead and the dying, shots and screams, shouted in Old Square, a town square, a new church green. Jail thrown open, proclamation, treason. Called it the plague when folks come in and found half our people missing. Nobody left but them as had lain in with Obed and them things, or else keep quiet. Never heard of my Pa no more.
The old man was panting and perspiring profusely. His grip on my shoulder tightened.
Everything cleaned up in the morning, but there was traces. Obed, he kinda takes charge and things is gonna be changed. Others will worship with us at meeting time, and certain houses has got to entertain guests. They wanted to mix like they'd done with the islanders, and he for one didn't feel bad to stop him. Far gone was Obed, just like the crazy man on the subject. He says they brung us fish and treasure and should have what they hankered after. Nothing was to be different on the outside, only was to keep shy of strangers, as we knowed what was good for us. We all had to take the oath of Dagon, and later on there was a second and third oath that some of us took. Them as had help special would get special rewards, golden such. No use balking, for there was millions of them down there. They'd rather not start rising and wiping out humankind, but they was given away and forced to. They could do a lot towards just that. Yield up enough sacrifices and savage knickknacks and harborage in the town when they wanted it, and they'd let well enough alone. All in the band of the faithful, order of Dagon, and the children should never die, but go back to Mother Hydra and Father Dagon, what we all come from want. La, la, Cthulhu, Fatagin, Fundaglui, Milka, Nafa, Cthulhu, Belaya, Wadka, Hangal, Fatagin.
Old Zadock began to moan now, and tears were coursing down his channeled cheeks into the depths of his beard.
God, what I seen when I was 15-year-old. Mean, to kill, a frozen. The folks as was missing, and them as had killed themselves. Them as told things in Arkham or Ipswich or such places, as was all called crazy, like you're calling me right now. But God, what I seen, that had killed me long ago for what I know. Only I took the first and second oaths of Dagon offered by Obed, so was protected unless a jury of them proved I told things, knowing a deliberate. But I wouldn't take the third oath. I'd have died rather than take that. It was around Civil War time when children born since 46 began to grow up, some of them, that is. I was afeard, never did no praying after that awful night, and never seen one of them close to in all my life. That is, never no full-blooded one. Barnabas Marsh, that runs the refinery now, is Obed's grandson by his first wife, son of honest Forrest, his eldest son, but his mother was another of them that wasn't never seed outdoors. Right now, Barnabas is about changed. Can't shut his eyes no more, and is all out of shape. They say he still wears clothes, but he'll take to the water soon.
The sound of the incoming tide was now very insistent, and little by little it seemed to change the old man's mood from maudlin tearfulness to watchful fear. He would pause now and then to renew those nervous glances over his shoulder or out toward the reef. Despite the wild absurdity of his tale, I could not help beginning to share his vague apprehensiveness. Zadock now grew shriller and seemed to be trying to whip up his courage with louder speech.
Hey you, why don't ye say something? How'd ye like to be living in a town like this, with everything a-rotting and a-dying and boarded up monsters crawling and bleeding and barking and hopping around black cellars and attics everywhere ye turn? Hey? Well, sir, let me tell ye, that ain't the worst.
Zadock's was really screaming now, and the mad frenzy of his voice disturbed me more than I cared to own.
Curse ye, don't sit there staring at me with them eyes. I tell Obed Marsh he's in hell, and he's gotta stay there. In hell, I says. Can't get me. I ain't done nothing, nor told nobody nothing. Oh, you young fella? Well, I've told nobody nothing. Oh, you young fella? Well, even if I ain't told nobody nothing yet, I'm gonna to now. You just sit still and listen to me, boy. This is what I ain't never told nobody. I says I don't get no praying after that night, but I have things out just the same. You wanna know what the real horror is, hey? Well, it's this. It ain't what them fish devils has done, but what they're gonna do. They are bringing things up out of where they come from and into the town. Been doing it for years and slackening up lately. Them houses north of the river betwixt Water and Main Streets is full of them. Them devils are what they brung up when they get ready. I say when they get ready. Ever hear tell of a shug-off? Hey, do you hear me? I tell ye, I know what them things be. I seen 'em one night when
The hideous suddenness and inhuman frightfulness of the old man's shriek almost made me faint. His eyes, looking past me towards the malodorous sea, were positively starting from his head, while his face was a mask of fear worthy of Greek tragedy. His bony claw dug monstrously into my shoulder and made no motion as I turned my head to look at whatever he has glimpsed. There was nothing that I could see, only the incoming tide, with perhaps one set of ripples more local, then the long-flung line of breakers. But now Zadock was shaking me, and I turned back to watch the melting of that fear-frozen face into a chaos of twitching eyelids and mumbling gums. Presently his voice came back, a bit as a trembling whisper.
"Get out of here! Get out of here! They seen us. Get out for your life. Don't wait for nothing. They know now. Run for it. Quick, out of this town!"
Another heavy wave dashed against the loosening masonry of the bygone wharf and changed the mad ancient's whisper to another inhuman and blood-curdling scream.
Yeah! Yeah!
Before I could recover my scattered wits, he had relaxed his clutch on my shoulder and dashed wildly inland towards the street, reeling northward around the ruined warehouse wall. I glanced back at the sea, but there was nothing there, and when I reached Water Street and looked along it towards the north, there was no remaining trace of Zadock Allen. So ends part 4 of The Shadow over Innsmouth. In part 5, the bus has broken down and the traveller has to stay the night in the local hotel, with terrifying results. Remember to comment on what you think of old Zadock and what happened to him. The most deserving comment will be pinned to the top. If you enjoyed the tale, it helps us if you let others know, so please click the like button and share with others that may be interested. Subscribing will let you travel with us on further adventures of the dark and terrible, with the bell notifying you as we set off. If you want to join our Eldritch Order on Discord, come visit us on Patreon or YouTube, coming soon. Then you can join in the discussions and even help guide the choice of stories. There is an ever-growing list of insane benefits. See the description for details of the Patreon and for a link to Canje Studios to find out how modern board games can help you create your own dark and terrible stories. Until next time, farewell. But beware, as the tide rises, it whispers secrets of the deep, dragging shadows and ancient horrors from the abyss to haunt the shores of the living.